Then there are the non-top 10 candidates who I call the National Invitational Tournament. I know you don't get basketball references or sports references too much, but a lot of people know what I mean by that. The NIT debate, which will be beforehand. And I just want to bring them up, not because they're significant, but because we may never have another chance to talk about these guys, and it might be fun to get your thoughts. Let's start with Rick Perry, the most significant omission from the top 10. Your thoughts on him and his candidacy?
Perry did a terrible job as candidate last time round. He came along as a dope, and he claimed that he was taking pain medication for his back and affected his memory. But Perry's a very attractive person, a decent governor, former Air Force pilot. Again, Perry has to explain to people why people should have any interest in him in the first place, why he should be there. He hasn't explained that to me. So.
Moving on to Rick Santorum, I just want to say a thing there. I'm not too impressed by Santorum, and as a lot of people know, I am a Pennsylvanian. I lived in New York when he was governor. I mean, when he was senator. I'm a little skeptical of guys who are considered right-wing who take union money the way Santorum did, and he just was not very popular among Republicans in Pennsylvania. And the question is why. And the other thing I think of with Santorum, as opposed to a Donald Trump and obviously a Ben Carson, he strikes me as a guy who just wasn't really that great at anything, but involved his life in the political process, hasn't really accomplished anything. And why is he running? I know my friend Meryl McKenzie Hannes is going to get really on my case. She loves him. She's a friend from college who's a recent Republican, now total conservative. But the question is, that's my question with Santorum, if I can editorialize here a bit. Now, you, the person people really want to listen to.
Well, in the great Venn diagram of politics, Rick Santorum tried to establish a niche for himself that would give him a chance to win the Republican primary, which was the intersection of two things. One is social conservatism, and the other is sort of Reagan Democrat working class economic interests. I'm a social conservative, so I sympathize with that, and I think the idea of promoting the economic welfare of American working people is a very reasonable one. But I think Santorum's mistake is that demography doesn't really exist anymore. He's still thinking of the 1980s.
Right.
So that intersection point has much too small a base for anyone to exploit. And as you point out, Santorum may not have been the strongest person to exploit that point of intersection. So I think he's nowhere. I mean, I like him personally. I'm not a Pennsylvanian. I know plenty of Pennsylvanians who don't like him. I gave him a little bit of money last time just because I liked him. But I don't think he's a serious contender. And again, he should probably be doing something else than running for president.
Yeah, I mean, doing something other than politics in his life would be nice to see. My parents, by the way, love him. They're Pennsylvanians also. And I just want to point out, because a lot of people may have been surprised that Chris Christie actually is Italian, because it's not a typical Italian name. Santorum is an actual Italian name. He's Italian as well, but people don't necessarily assume an M at the end of their last name is. Okay, enough about Santorum, who's going to be gone very soon. Bobby Jindal.
Bobby Jindal does not look like a leader.
No, he doesn't.
He seemed,
that might be a racial thing, though.
He seems like a very nerdy kind of person. He doesn't galvanize the electorate. Again, I'm not sure why he's running.
Well, he's popular as governor of Louisiana. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. He's fairly young.
I'm not deprecating him, but he's done nothing which establishes him as a national figure.
Right. As arguably as successful a governor as anyone running, which is the most important position for launching as president. But I hear what you're saying. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Carly Fiorina.
Carly Fiorina was not a great CEO. Was an okay CEO. She's, made a number of statements I like, some I dislike. One of the ones I really disliked the most was that we shouldn't worry about China because they just copy things. They don't invent stuff. That is a horrible mistake. It's not true. On average, the Chinese may be less inventive, but there are plenty of them, and you don't need a lot of innovators, just a few good ones, and the Chinese have them. So I'm simply not impressed by Fiorina. Let me put it this way. If she weren't female, I don't think she'd be in the race. That said, would she be a better president than Hillary Clinton? Without any doubt at all.
If that's the standard.
No qualifications in national politics. And it's very different to be a corporate CEO than to be a political leader. Corporate CEO does have to build consensus, but can give orders and hire and fire people. If you're president, you can't fire the Senate. You can't dismiss the electorate and get a new one. So business people coming in directly from business without political experience are typically not particularly good political leaders.
Moving on to the candidate with no support, who we've probably heard about more than any other one with no support, lifetime bachelor Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, along with John McCain, has been a baleful influence on American foreign policy.
Agreed.
Graham and McCain, the neoconservative candidates, have been the strongest advocates of pursuing democracy as a goal in the Middle East. They supported getting rid of Mubarak. They supported an outreach to the Muslim Brotherhood. They continued to do so until very recently. So I think Graham is a very ideological, has been in foreign policy. He's pro-Israel, which I like, but Israel really doesn't need friends like that. It's because of people like Graham and McCain that Republicans are behind the eight ball on foreign policy. So I really don't think he has any business being there.
Have you ever watched the absolutely nauseating setup for the so-called joke that Graham did with Elena Kagan during her nomination hearings about Jews eating Chinese food on Christmas? It is the lamest thing I've just about ever seen. You ever seen that?
No, I didn't. The other thing about Graham is he's also a consummate Washington insider.
Right.
He's the anti-Ted Cruz in that respect.
Oh, maybe you know this. His legal career, I know he was in the military partially out of necessity. His parents died young and he was looking out for his sister. But did he accomplish anything in his legal career? I mean, it was a small-town lawyer in South Carolina.
That I couldn't tell you.
And it's just, with him and also Condoleezza Rice, I like to, not to be R-rated here, but to have at least some clue about a candidate's sex life before I elect them president or vice president. And it's just my way of thinking. You don't want to comment on that, I assume.
I have no comment.
George Pataki.
Any even mention of the subject is Lashon Hara.
Fair enough. Isn't Lashon Hara only about Jews, though?
No, not necessarily. Public figures should be treated with a certain amount of caution. I'm against speculating on anybody's sex life.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough.
If something scandalous and horrible comes out about someone's sex life, that's part of their personality, and a potential president has to be evaluated in the totality of their personality. But if we know nothing, speculation is, I think, wrong.
I just would want to know if there even is one. I do wonder about Condoleezza as well. Actually, I do wonder about Hillary in that department too. But anyhow, George Pataki.
I used to know someone named George Pataki years ago. It's sort of a familiar name. What's he been doing all these years?
Fair enough.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all you have to say about George Pataki?
Yes, and that's enough said.
And last, and probably least, Jim Gilmour, who I know we will not have much of a chance to talk about again.
No thoughts.
Fair enough. Okay, I've taken a lot of your time. I've been talking with David P. Goldman, Spengler at Asia Times, 8times.com. I don't think there's anything up about the debates, but maybe we'll check in after the debates and see, reconvene then on this subject.
I'm not going to promise to watch it.